This lecture workshop is entitled Becoming Ausar. In the Kemetic spiritual system, if you live a righteous life, when you transcend it, you will become one with the number one deity that had contact with humanity on the earth, who is Ausar. So your whole deal was you wanted to become one with Ausar. If you look throughout the book of Coming Forth by Day, in any text, and in the pyramid text and in the coffin text, in any text, the deceased always has his name dash Ausar. Well, they always say Osiris because they're using Greek terms, but still, it's Ani dash Osiris because that person has become one with Ausar. So there are techniques and methods that the people of Kemet use, a certain way of thinking that they use to accomplish this goal. It's difficult for us to do it because we're so locked into our five senses. If our five senses doesn't perceive it, it ain't happening. And that's part of this Western civilization. That's part of the construct of this Western civilization that we live in. So, as long as you're stuck in that, believing that idea that if your five senses can't perceive it, you can't accomplish it, it's going to be very difficult to become one with Ausar. Now, I'm not saying you can't become one with some other spiritual entity, because I know some very spiritual Christians. I know some very spiritual people in other systems. But if you locked into a certain concept, and when you transcend, if you do good within the parameters of that concept, then you achieve what that concept promises you. And it's just that simple. So in the Christian system, it's about getting in here. As it's taught nowadays, it's about prosperity here. So if you locked into achieving prosperity here, then you don't really want to leave here. Because this is where the good stuff is. So when you do pass on, there's a very good chance you come back here, because this is all you know. In Kemet, when you transcend it, you want it to become one with the nature. You want it to become like a star. Each nature, each Kemetic spiritual entity is connected with the star in the heaven. Ausar is connected with the largest star in what we call the belt of Orion. It's been a silly, fortuitous time for me. I told you I ordered some books 3 weeks ago. These two books came to my house Friday. There was information in both of them that I could use today. I just said, damn, that's all right. In this book, they said that the Greeks put, oh, by the way, this is the Egyptian calendar. It worked for eternity. And this by A.S. von Bomhard, B-O-M-H-A-R-D. And her first name is actually Anne Sophie von Bomhard. Her first name is actually Anne Sophie von Bomhard. The Greeks took what they called the belt of Orion, was actually Orion's crown to the people of Kemet. So they took it off his head and put it on his waist for some, who knows what.
What's up to them?
Yeah.
What's up to us is down to them, and what's down to us is up to them. Our north is their south, and our south is their north.
Which is further proof that they didn't learn jack, we taught them what they could understand, but they, there was a scholar who graduated from Temple. His name is Dr. Mario Beatty. I met him at an ASCAT conference a few years back. When I went to Wayne State to get my degree, I had access to all the scholarly documents. And there's a library that holds every master's thesis and dissertation written since 1875. So I put up his dissertation. Here's a few excerpts from it. where he talks about becoming a star. There are numerous references in the book of Coming Forth by Day of how the deceased attempt to gain immortality in the afterlife through mingling with the stars and sometimes even being more directly tied to them. The ability of the deceased to raise themselves to the sky by their own power and thereby actively open a place for themselves in the sky as a star is of critical importance. It speaks to the agency or skill of the deceased in the renewal and repetition of life. The deceased demonstrate this ability by transforming themselves into a unique star on the body of Newt. The deceased must not only ascend to the sky with the stars, but also move with them in a westerly motion across the night sky. The night sky is imagined as a watery firmament that overflows just as the Nile River annually overflows its banks. This overflow occurs in the sky, and it refers to an abundance of stars, and the deceased is compelled to drink of its essence. Once this is done, she or he will not only be able to fraternize and mingle with the stars, but they will have the effectiveness and power to actually shine like the stars in the sky. Now, that's part of our Kemetic heritage. You know, it's something that those people who learned and went through the temples could achieve. This whole thing that they tell you that the general population of Kemet was illiterate, couldn't read, and all this kind of stuff, and the priests were elevated.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Nah, it wasn't happening like that. Why would you write stuff, write all these words on all these walls outside the buildings if people couldn't read? You don't have to do it. You could just paint some colors on there. Everybody be happy. You know? Damn, that's what we do here.